What's going on, you guys? It has been a little while since I've recorded a video here, and frankly, it's been tough. It's been tough to get on this channel. Working two jobs this week, a lot going on. But despite that, I said I would jump on and talk about some Montreal Canadiens trade proposals, or frankly, based on everything we've heard the last few weeks, lack thereof, right? I think one of the biggest points we can gather, at least right now, is that last year we were absolutely spoiled with all the deals that came in, starting right on Valentine's Day with Tyler Toffoli, the Ben Sherratt deal, the Arturi Lehkonen deal, and the Brett Kulak deal. So we were really spoiled last year. And at this point, I have no idea. I have no idea what to expect. As much as, I'm going to share with you information that you guys have heard as well throughout the last few weeks, a lot of it rumors, speculation. Maybe there is some juice there, but it's a tough time to be a Habs fan, at least right now, is what I've discovered. And that's just, I'm going to be straight with you guys. I'm not going to try to hype you guys up and tell you that I think a bunch of great deals are coming when we certainly know that that's a possibility, that it's a very, very good possibility that's not going to happen. I think the interest in the Montreal Canadiens right now is just relatively lowish, except for us, hardcore fans or diehard fans, whatever. But that's the truth. I'm seeing it in the channel numbers as well. So, I mean, that's just the way it goes. So I'm jumping on here today and simply going to say that I genuinely don't have a clue what's going to happen at this trade deadline. I think that Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton have a plan. I don't think that because there's a trade deadline a few days from now that they feel like they absolutely have to do something. I think they could possibly be dealing or not dealing from a position of strength in that the assets that they have, especially the ones that were expected to be trade chips, your Monahans, your Edmondsons, Josh Anderson maybe, and Jonathan Drouin, Evgeny Dadonov, Mike Hoffman, all the ones that we've heard about, simply either there's no interest at all, there's minimal interest, or the price is too high to acquire any of these Montreal Canadian players. We've heard a lot of rumors thrown out this week. We've heard George Laraque throw out Mike Matheson's name. I don't think that makes any sense right now, that trade. So I don't think there's specific intel on that name from George. I think it's his best educated guess. I got a lot of respect for George. I love watching him and Tony on the Sick podcast. It's absolutely hilarious, their dynamic. It's beautiful. But I think that's more of a clickbait opinion. I don't see anything really manifesting for that, although I think a lot of teams might really love to have Mike Matheson. But another one that really needs them is the Montreal Canadiens. They don't have a veteran defenseman with a lot of skill, ability, and experience, and even, frankly, maybe even leadership than Mike Matheson. And the fact that Mike Matheson just absolutely, the story that came out with, Stu Cowan in the Montreal Gazette recently was beautiful in terms of him just loving being in this market, being from Point Claire, where I am as well. I've mentioned you guys a million times, but I just don't think there's anything there on Mike Matheson right now. I could be wrong. Between now and the trade deadline, anything can happen. That's what makes it exciting. That's what keeps us interested, is that until 3:00 on March 3rd, we have no idea what deals could be, coming Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton's way. So is it possible? Is it foreseeable? I don't think so. I don't think the Mike Matheson deal is coming. I think a Josh Anderson trade is more likely, although I don't want to trade him. I've said this to you guys a few times lately, and based on the way the Habs have been playing lately and some of the discussion on Twitter I've seen, is that with the Habs winning more than expected lately, which is annoying fans because the tank, whatever. I mean, maybe they're not 5 years away from being contenders, right? I mean, maybe they're more like 3 or 4 years away from being contenders. And I do mean Stanley Cup contenders. Yes, 100%. 100%. I think they're possibly as close as next year is going to be when they're going to try to compete for a wild card spot. So when it comes to what trades maybe to expect, I mean, I just have no idea. I have no idea what to expect right now. I really don't. With Sean Monahan not being available, who I think could have went to the Colorado Avalanche kind of in place of Nazem Kadri last year. And it also would have been great to see Monahan get a shot at a Stanley Cup, and he still might. If we hang on to him this year for a year, or maybe he just goes right to free agency, which I have a hard time seeing his agent not pushing for, trying to get one big final payout for him before the end of Sean Monahan's career. But those injury issues are a big question. So who knows what's going to happen with him? Joel Edmondson, linked to the Edmonton Oilers, has a lot of back issues. No idea what's going to happen with him, but I know that the Edmonton Oilers would have loved to have him, as we all kind of have heard. Who doesn't want a defenseman that's got a Stanley Cup winning pedigree with a big body who can hit, who can move the puck relatively well, who can still skate decently well, but he's not available. He's just not available. There's no interest in Mike Hoffman. If there's no interest in Hoffman, I don't see how there's any interest in Evgeny Dadonov. I really, really don't. Jonathan Drouin is the biggest. Interesting to say that at this point. No goals for Drouin. What was he got? 17, 18 assists. And he's been playing the best lately out of all the guys that are healthy that I've mentioned. Mike Hoffman, Evgeny Dadonov. Some people talking about David Savard on the defensive end. He's looked okay lately as well. Could see him as a possible trade chip, but he's another veteran guy on the back end that they just don't want to move on from. Joel Edmondson, David Savard, Mike Matheson. One of those guys might get moved in the next year or two, or even by the deadline, but you can't get rid of all these guys. You've got to keep a couple of them. So it's just so up in the air. And other than that, who else are we going to be willing to deal, right? So at this point, it's all about the draft, seeing how we do there, even though the Habs are still winning right now. So like I've mentioned several times, guys, I'm probably not going to be making many more videos between now and the trade deadline because I'm only going to make videos when something actually happens. When I see a deal is when I'm going to fully believe it. So it's going to be speculative all throughout this week between now and the trade deadline. We're going to hear lots of rumors. Hopefully we even get a deal before the trade deadline. We've seen some. We're waiting for a Patrick Kane deal to drop any second now. The Ryan O'Reilly trade last week, which I did have a chance to talk about on this channel. There's going to be some deals coming in that might not just be Montreal Canadiens related. So I'm going to be jumping on those possibly when I can. Time is extremely tight for me lately. I've been working 2 jobs, like I mentioned, and it just isn't easy to get on and do these videos very much lately. So it's not that bad of a thing because, I mean, again, the interest in the Canadiens isn't at an all-time high right now. Last year, interest was a lot higher, especially given the fact that we had a new GM, we had a new hockey ops guy, we had a new staff, just new staff members, boom, boom, boom. Marty St. Louis coming in. So I love the way Marty's coaching this team right now. I'm not going to complain about the wins. I'm just not. I can't control where they end up in the standings. I'm not going to tell them not to compete. So I think I need to do a video at some point on how the draft lottery system definitely needs to be changed. It needs to be changed. Why should we make fans think that losing is what we want? Why should we make fans think that losing is what we should cheer for? It's stupid. It's just stupid. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, guys, as you can tell, I don't have a lot of trade proposals for you because, frankly, and I will say this on Josh Anderson, Calgary, Brad Treliving seems to be very interested in Josh Anderson even before he became a Montreal Canadian. So Calgary needs to do something. They need to improve, and they need to give themselves a chance because they haven't been playing good lately. They need a boost. And if Brad Treliving is willing to cough up a lot of futures and some roster players possibly too for Josh Anderson, that might be the only card he can play right now. So anyway, talk to you guys soon, and I appreciate you watching, guys. Cheers.